Hi everyone, so we're going to make a snowman with this workshop, and you can see in usual Blue Peter style, here's one I made earlier. We're going to be using the pinch pot technique where the body and the head is made using that technique. We're also going to do that with the hat, and I'm going to show you how to then apply all the features. So starting off with the clay that you've got in your pack, so you should have something that looks like that, and what we're going to do is go for 2/3 are going to be the body, and the rest we're going to put to one side to use for our head and also the features. I'm then going to cut that in half. Now I want that nice and even, so I want a similar sort of weight for both. You can always hold it and decide on that, and then what we're going to do is roll that into a sphere. And the best way to do that is to cup your hands like that and like that, and then roll, sort of squeezing action. And then if you roll it like that, gradually you should then get that circular form. Put that to one side, and then again cupping with your hands and squeezing it into that ball shape, and then roll. Okay, it doesn't have to be completely perfect, but once you're happy with it being quite spherical, you can then start the pinch pot technique. So this technique is used often when you are modelling clay forms, and the reason we use a pinch pot technique is we're trying to make a hollow form. Okay, so I've got my two circular pieces of clay, spherical pieces of clay. I'm going to take my thumb. The reason it's called a thumb pot is because you use your thumb. A lot of things in ceramics are very basic terms. And then what we're going to do is going to take our hands like that, sort of like crocodile hand, and we're going to then squeeze the clay nice and evenly around. We don't want the sides of the clay to get too thin. We want them to be quite nice and even. And then if we take the other one and we do exactly the same thing, so again thumb first of all, don't go all the way through, you're making a little bowl shape, and then just with your fingers you are smoothing that round. Now you can see there I've got a little bit of a lump there, and I can just smooth that round. It's all about you gradually moulding the clay into the shape that you want. You can use your other hand if that's more comfortable. We're using this hand to sort of cup and shape the clay so that it's supportive, and we want quite a nice solid thickness to the side of the form. We don't want it to be uneven, and we don't want it to be too thin. We can just tap that down a little bit so it gives us a nice flat edge, and the same with that, we can just tap that down so we've got that nice flat edge. Okay, so when I've got those two shapes, and you can see sort of they're not perfect, they're sort of just quite rounded but nice and solid, I can then start to attach the two together. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my clay tool. Now I can either use a wooden tool, or you can see here that I've got a potter's knife where it's just quite a sharp edge, obviously being careful with it. We're then going to score the top of your form, and then we're going to do the same on this side. And again, you can see I can either use the knife that I've got, or I can use the wooden tool, and all I'm doing is cross hatching. I'm creating a key, and I'll be using that to make sure that the two shapes can then fit together. And then I'm going to take my slip. Now your slip is basically clay that's got water added to it, so it's just liquid clay. You can see there I've just got myself a little bit of clay, popped some water into it and got it into a sort of nice creamy mush, and we're going to use this as our glue. Okay, so taking the slip and applying that onto the top, and then again here as well. Okay, and then I'm going to attach those two shapes together. So it's a little bit like we're sort of making an Easter egg. Two sides, two sections put together. Now you notice there's quite a gap between the two. So once I've sort of attached those, trying to still keep that shape, I'm going to hold it with one hand, and I'm going to take this finger and I'm going to then start to pull one section down to the other. If you've got one that's slightly bigger at the top, then you might kind of pull the sort of slightly bigger section down. You can see it's a little bit messy to start off with, but gradually we're going to kind of mould that together. We can start to kind of really get our shape. Okay, so just taking that clay and pulling that clay up, and just trying to attach those two sections while still trying to keep hold of that shape. And then you're just spending your time now smoothing this and tapping it into shape to get the shape that you want to. Now I'm going to carry on with this, and then I'm going to show you it at the end and show you sort of how I can make it even smoother.